Hey, Josh from Vacuums R Us and Sewing 2 in Colorado again. Today we're going to be doing what I call a cord pull or a cord replacement on a, this is a CleanMax vacuum cleaner. So this is made by Taconi. So if you have a Riccar or a Simplicity that is a machine similar to this video will apply to you. I'll put a list of the models that it covers down there. But essentially, if you have a Riccar, Simplicity, or CleanMax machine, is an ultralight machine, they're about 8 or 9 pounds, and your power switch is down here, right here. This video is going to apply to you if you're looking to do a cord replacement or if you have abrasions in your cord that you're looking to do a cord pull. So what I call a cord pull as opposed to a replacement, I don't think we're going to actually replace this cord. The majority of the cord is in safe condition. There's some abrasions here and there I see, but nothing that's terrible. It is commercial use. So in commercial use, we attempt to stretch the machine as far as possible. There's duct tape on here, which is a problem. You never use duct tape for electrical stuff because it can potentially conduct electricity. You want to use electrical tape. But a cord pull is where we know that there's a break that's close to the machine, right? So maybe our break in the cord is here. This machine, as it's going back and forth, the machine is cutting in and out, right? And so that's typically indicative that there's a problem with the cord, because as the cord moves back and forth, you're making connection inside of it and then losing connection. A cord pull is where we've identified that the break is very close to the machine and we cut the cord and then pull it in. So we lose 2, maybe 3 feet of cord, but we don't have to replace the entire cord in that case. And that's something we commonly do in commercial instances, because again, in commercial cases, first of all, their cords tend to be a lot longer. So that's the CleanMax machines, or Riccar actually had, and so did Simplicity. They had a series of commercial machines as well. Those cords tend to be longer to begin with, so losing a couple of feet isn't that big of a deal. And in commercial settings, they're looking to run these machines as long as they possibly can. So all that said, I have just changed my mind entirely, because after taking off that duct tape, I find that their wires are completely exposed. So we're going to actually replace the entirety of the cord. But I will cover, so if you're going to do a cord pull, the best way to identify where your short is you can plug the machine in and then you kind of push it back and forth and just wiggle, right? And you can wiggle, and typically you're going to find that you actually have a break up here where your cord goes into the handle up here. The strainer's right there, and it goes back and forth like this, and it breaks internally. And I'm betting that's actually where the break is on this. It's not these other issues that are with the cord. But you can then cut the cord in front of the break and you can feed it back down in there. But in this case, we're going to replace the entire stinking cord, because clearly this cord is beat. Here's my disclaimer. We're about to do an electrical repair. If you're not comfortable doing this repair, watch the entire video, please, first. Make sure that it looks like something you feel like you can do front to back without any issues. If you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. If anything arises from this, you burn your house down, you get electrocuted, I am not liable, just trying to help out here. You're going to have to do this at your own risk. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to cut the cord off entirely, make things simple here. We need to remove the upper cord hook right up here, because the cord goes through that upper cord hook. I got the wrong bit in here. We were working on Dysons earlier. So there's one screw, and we're going to remove the cord hook, and now that cord comes out. It loops through. There's a little hook on the side of the housing and another hook on the bottom. And that is where it loops through. We're going to move the camera now. We're going to get a little bit closer, because now we're going to be working inside the machine. All right, so we're going to flip the machine. All my benches are at waist height so that I can access the machine like this. We can get full access to the machine and kind of hold it there. There are 2 screws on the back. There may not be. Oh, there is. A lot of times the commercial customers will remove the screws, because there's actually clips right here as well that hold the upper housing on. So you got 2 screws and then you got 2 clips. A lot of times they'll remove the screws for easier access to the machine, because the clips hold the housing on. So this is in pretty rough shape. We got a lot of play right here on this housing. I don't love that. That is not what it came in for, though, so we're not gonna worry about that. If this were a consumer use machine, a residential machine, we would probably look at addressing some of those things. But with commercial, we kind We fix it as it breaks. They're looking to get the most value out of the machine, get the most miles. So the cord comes in right here, comes down into here. There's one plastic washer back here that's held in by a large Phillips head screw. It's got a large head on it. So we're going to pull the washer and the large screw out, which will make the wires loose. So I can tell I've been in this machine, or one of my associates have been before, for a cord replacement or maybe a switch replacement, because we have these zip ties on here, and that's something that we do here a lot for any number of reasons. So we typically will use zip ties to bind cords together in front of pardon me, in front of the wire nuts, because without those, the wire nuts are supporting the entirety of the strain of the wires moving back and forth on their own. And so the zip ties help to hold those wires together and get rid of that strain. We want to, why we want to zip tie those wires together, because when I took the zip ties off, the wires just fell apart. The wire nuts weren't really effectively holding them together. So another thing that I see is that this breaker right here has fallen inside of the machine. This is actually something that's supposed to be attached here and stick out of the machine. That's what that hole there is for. The breaker's fallen inside of the machine, and it looks like it's in bad shape to me. Yeah, the breaker, you can see it's split right here. So we're actually going to need to replace this breaker as well. I'm going to go find that in inventory, and I'm going to bring that back. This could also be the reason that it's cutting in and out, but regardless, it's already in here. They've already, they're paying for about an hour of labor on here. So we're just going to get everything fixed at the same time. So I'm going to go grab that breaker, and I'll be right back. All right, so we've got the breaker, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to install that. It installs, it pops in from the outside. It looks like you can see the fascia broke off the breaker. And what the purpose of this is so if the motor overheats, something gets thoroughly jammed in it, then the breaker should kick and shut the machine off, and then you can find the obstruction, find the issue, and then put it back in again. And this clip actually has a release on it, which I didn't engage. I just ripped it out. So one side of the breaker is going to plug into your power switch. The other side of your breaker is going to be the black wire that goes back to the motor. It doesn't matter which way you put it on. You can swap these back and forth on the breaker right there. That's not a problem at all. So everything else is color coded as far as these power wires are concerned. I've got green is ground. I've got black. That's the important one. Green is ground, black and white. I'm going to grab a cord here real quick, which I should have right behind me actually. Yes, I do. So I'll put the part number to the cord down here. I might put the part number to the breaker, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to the parts book for this machine. It's the full schematics. You'll be able to see every part it uses on a breakdown, and identify what parts you may or may not need. But I'm also going to include the cord, because this is not a, this is actually an aftermarket cord. They're great cords. We use tons of these. And it's a lot less expensive than the genuine cord, and it's actually a little longer too. This is a 50-footer. So these cords come with, on the ground, they have a little loop right here because they're intended to be able to be attached to the sanitaire type commercial machines. So I'm going to cut that loop off. I'm going to go ahead and strip it. All right, and we'll go back and we'll twist onto our ground, and I'm going to zip tie this too for the aforementioned reasons. I use real small zip ties is ideal, but you can use larger ones, it doesn't matter. And what I do right here, I'm going to move your camera a little bit so you can see a little bit better, is what I do is I zip tie the wires about an inch or so below the wire nut. I put a zip tie right there so that as we're moving back and forth, nothing falls off, right? Makes it a little bit more secure, a little bit more thorough than just putting wire nuts on there, or crimps as the case may be. They use crimps in these, which are more secure than wire nuts, which ideally I should be using crimps, but I don't think I have the right size crimp. So the combination of the zip ties and wire nuts is even more thorough than the original crimps that come on these machines. So I'm just going white to white, black to black, no big deal. Pretty simple stuff. Zip them up. And I'll grab the wire nuts that I had on there before. If you want to be really thorough, you can actually electrical tape your wire nuts so that they don't rattle off. I don't know that I've ever seen that actually happen, where they rattle off, but you know, if you want to be super thorough, you could go ahead and do that. We're going to wire nut those puppies right there. Models of supplies too that I can come up with off the top of my head are Zoom 200 from CleanMax branded. All of these are Tacony products, all made by Tacony out of, they put these together in Missouri. The Simplicity S10E for entry and the Riccar R10E for entry. There are some older model Riccars and Simplicities as well that are on the same body design. This is one of their oldest body designs. So there's some older model ones as well that will have the same body design and the same basic concepts will apply. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put the plastic washer that holds down the cord back in there. All right, and then, so we have a channel up here that's going back. These wires are just gonna sit over here. Watch where your motor wires go in. There's a channel here. You wanna make sure those don't pop out because when you put the hood on, you can potentially crimp them if they pop out. So make sure those are in the channel there. Make sure that your motor, all of your motor mount screws, all 5 of these are down tight. I did it at the beginning of this work here, so we're good there. Those can rattle loose over time. Not as much as Oryx do. Oryx motors, similar design machine, same basic idea. Oryx motors get loose all the stinking time. Okay, so we're gonna stand it back up. I'm gonna bring your camera back out so you can see what's going on again. So you'll note, you remember when I first put this machine up, it kind of fell back on me. It was kind of falling back on me. That's there's a little red clip that's underneath the fan housing that locks in place when you put the machine in an upright position. Depending on our commercial customers, and we know our commercial customers really well. Some of them want those fixed every time that we're inside the machine. Other ones don't care. They're like, you know what? They're going to break it again. I don't care. Just leave it. So this one we're not fixing. It still flops back. This particular customer, she just doesn't want us messing with it. She does not want to pay for the clip because she knows it's going to get broken again rapidly by the crew that she has. The crew she has is they're really rough on her machines. That's a constant ongoing complaint with our commercial customers, that their employees beat the ever-living snot out of their machines. On the bright side, when companies come out with new products, what we will often do is we will give one of those products, a new machine, to our commercial customers that we know have staff that abuse the machines, so that we can rapidly see what's going to go wrong with the machines, right? And commercial people, they're using these machines maybe up to 4 or 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. So we get a kind of an expedited timeline of how long we can expect the machine to last, what the failure rate is going to be, before we really start pushing that machine and rolling it out to our regular consumer-based customers, right? So it's kind of like a field testing QA kind of thing that we're able to do very rapidly with our commercial customers. Because essentially, if a commercial customer doesn't break it inside of a year, you're not going to have any problems inside of 15 years because they use the snot out of these things. We've got commercial customers that use SIBOs, which are, a lot of longevity on those machines, very, very tough machines. And we've had commercial customers, after who knows how many thousands of hours of use on these machines, will uncover weaknesses that we would have never realized existed had it been used in a home environment in your house. All right, so we're gonna test it real quick. Make sure I don't blow anything up. Whoa, it's on. All right, no more problems. We successfully got a cord installed. One thing to note, I mentioned that the cord that I'm gonna link down there is a 50-foot cord. The one downside to that is that these cord hooks weren't really necessarily intended for a 50-foot cord. So as you can see, they wrap a little bit, like they barely fit on there. So that could be problematic if that's an issue for you. I mean, you could use a different cord. You get the 50-footer from us and maybe take off 5 or 10 feet. Actually, I think it's a 45. Maybe it's a 40-foot. I don't know. It's long though. It's a stinking long cord. Anyway, that's our cord install. Thanks for watching. I don't know, what do people say on social media? Like and share for whatever more? I don't stinking know.